Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run. Inside the 10. Head first. He flies off the 5-yard line.
Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
Rushing forward, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him free to the 30, to the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I was thinking I should grab a blanket because I'm feeling a major draft at the moment. As we dad jokes, 2 seconds in. We said 48 hours before the big 2022 draft in Vegas, and each of us will be sharing our draft favorites or draft crush, our draft sleepers, and the Broncos' first pick prediction at either 64 or if they're going to shift. As we offer ours, please throw yours in the chat as well. This is the 5280 podcast, which is every Tuesday from 7654 on the Broncos-based fan-led MHRT Network, which now boasts 4 shows in the offseason. I'm here with Mr. Boggins, Mr. Cam Parker. I should also mention our other shows. The Wild Wild West is tomorrow night at 7:30, 6:30, 5:30, and 4:30. Features fans from each of the 4 AFC West teams. And tomorrow should be a blast because everybody
Smith is on.
I'd say it's a knee slapper, but it's a little higher than that. The Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast is Thursdays at 7654, and Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bills every Friday night. And as I mentioned, we have a big draft episode tonight, so we need to have a well-informed Denver media member join us. This member actually has some big news that he shared yesterday, and we're going to ask him to mention it again tonight. One of our absolute favorites from Mile High Sports and Let's Talk Broncos podcast. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Zach Segars.
Woo! So sexy.
I'm so happy to be back, man. 5280. I haven't been on since it's been 5280. I'm so thrilled.
Thank you for
the
up.
reband, I love it. Oh, of course. I dressed up.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
I'm in a sorority sweater. The official uniform of. Can I swear on this? I'll keep it clean.
Okay.
Understandable. I just wanted to check.
Save it for mainly. Save it for mainly, Zach.
Save it for mainly of Thule frat guys.
Oh, okay. There you go. I like
All right, Avatar.
Queen.
Good
Alex
evening.
is the proper pronunciation. Yeah, my last name. Appreciate you, Alex.
EJ, Broncos country is good tonight. We have Mundungus in the chat already picking on me, and that's fine. Christos Jenkins, welcome to the show. Love the Huskers gear. That's the way you Cam his heart. You mentioned something about Nebraska.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We have Alex Valdez. Alex, welcome. Zach Segars.
That is the appropriate pronunciation.
Ooh,
Cigars.
Brie with a joke from 1976.
Happy days.
Hey. All right, there we go. So you guys actually, Zach, why don't I referenced your announcement yesterday, but why don't you tell us what you have going on in the next 10 days and also for the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. Going to the draft right here, which is very, very exciting. Follow LTB for all that stuff. We're going to be getting into chaos. I like that Bree doesn't even have her last name. It's Bree on YouTube too. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's actually smart. That's not a mistake. That's intentional.
I shouldn't show that, Alex. How dare you?
Yeah. Crazy. We're going to the draft. I think we're going to be getting into a lot of hijinks and stuff. Right now, we're trying to convince Bree to go down the Fremont Street zip line. She's already hard committed. She said she's going to do it. She's promised she's going to do it. She says, I know not only that the Let's Talk Broncos fans would appreciate it, but the fans of the 5280 podcast would appreciate seeing it. So I really it's not about me. It's bigger than me. I need to be selfless. I can't be selfish in this moment. And so I'm going to go down the zip line. And it's a hard commit. Honestly, she's enthusiastic about it. And so make sure you're following us over there for that.
You got to live stream that.
Yep.
It'll be live streamed, recorded too, so it can be used in perpetuity. Exactly.
I have to ask an important question with this, the ziplining question. Is there at least did they at least let you know that there's a 40-foot drop at like the very end of the ziplining?
No, but I think that's even more fun. I think she's really pumped for it.
Because well, I was gonna say from personal experience, I ziplined the Royal Gorge, and the friend that we went ziplining with did not tell us that there was a 40 or 50-foot drop at the very end of the ziplining. So we go through, we're ziplining through the entire Royal Gorge, and then at the very end of the Royal Gorge, we have to jump off, 40 to 50 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, I've ziplined before, and it didn't work that way for me. It was we had these like crazy gloves, and you would grab
ours was gloves too,
the thing and slow it down.
Yeah, I'm guessing
I just wouldn't do it.
Ziplining,
like my feet on the ground. That's about it.
Yeah.
I know, but Bree's built different.
Yeah, no, that's what I heard. And she was like, online, she's like, you'd be a punk not to do it. And I was like, I don't like heights, so I guess I'm a punk for not doing it. But she's the champion. She's gonna do it, and it's gonna be really cool. I can't wait to see it. I think she say she's gonna film it. I believe, right? She's gonna film it and
get her POV too. Yeah.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait for it to happen. Yeah.
I think I wouldn't do it just because I'd be afraid of what you guys would do with the screenshots, especially Boggins with his
Photoshops. Yeah.
I have the power.
It can. Her screaming flying through the air can be her new avatar for MHRT.
I'm ready for it. It'll be great.
Bree joining us in the chat as she's getting ready to head to Vegas. I missed the show. I became the star. You fools fall for it every time.
Well, Debris, when you promise, when you commit to doing death-defying stunts on a rickety, fairly sketchy Fremont Street zip line, you're going to steal headlines, So I think you bring it upon yourself.
Agreed.
So I know we're going to be talking about the draft, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't chat a little bit about Russell Wilson taking the field for the first time yesterday, and then speaking to the media after Hackett, and wanted to get your feedback on what you guys were thinking when you saw those initial highlights start making the rounds.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on here, but my nipples cut steel when I saw that. It was absolutely fantastic. I threw up a little in my mouth. It was just like all great things. Honestly, Russell Wilson throwing to every single, even handing off to our brand new coach. It was fantastic. And KJ doing some warm-up drills and like moving quickly on that ACL, just like, it's just like it felt like a dream that I didn't want to wake up from, but it's reality and it's fantastic.
I was gonna say I can't imagine from your perspective, Boggins, living in Seattle and actually seeing truly it all unfold. But I feel like
to everybody,
I feel like for me it was like the very famous scene from Forgetting Sarah Marshall with Jonah Hill and Jason Segel. So I think that it was that famous scene, So I mean, and I'm sure every person's reaction was the same, but it's one of those cases where you're literally going through the whole scenario over your head, or just even through everything that happened with Russell Wilson becoming your quarterback, and to actually see it unfold, where you see him walk out onto the field or run onto the field, it's basically one of those cases where you're just like, it's real. It's truly real. No more photoshops, no more fake photoshops, no more Boggins photoshops. I mean, like it is really real.
Yeah, it's cool. It does feel a little uncanny valley. The football clips were more natural, but like him walking out, I don't know, there was just something so weird about it. Like in a good way. I'm excited for it. It's awesome, but it was just like I don't know, like Peyton Manning in a Broncos uniform was at first. I think after long enough it set in, but like this is a comparison that'll make people cringe, but like Joe Namath in a Rams uniform looks so weird because Joe Namath never did anything in a Rams uniform. You know, there's the only thing there is of him in a Rams uniform is him sitting on the bench. While Peyton Manning came to Denver, you know, went to 2 Super Bowls, won 1 Super Bowl. So you see Peyton Manning in a Broncos uniform and it's like, fine. Tom Brady in a Bucs jersey. Little weird at first, but at this point it's like, you know, you don't bat an eye at it. We'll get there with Russ, but right now it's a little still uncanny valley. The practice also, I think the players seem to be into it. I still really like Hackett as a coach, but it does come off like a little goofy camp counselor to me, you know, where he's like, what are the 3 things we learned? What are the 3 things we learned? What's one? Like, that's a little, me being.
Did they answer it though? Did they all know?
They did, but like, oh man, like maybe it's because I'm still in college, technically, just barely, and less removed from high school. But that just like, it's a little, I don't know. Like when I have teachers do stuff like that, or I'm just like, oh,
I will say, you know, I love the Hackett stuff, you know, because it is so Ted Lasso, you know, stuff for him. But I mean, it's just like, it's one of those things like, until like if he starts like losing games, or if he loses games or wins, if he wins game, it's going to be basically the same that it's ever been, you know, since he's been hired. But if he loses games, it's going to be one of those things that it's going to get old after a while, you know, to what you know, Zach was basically saying. So yeah, it has the opportunity certainly to get a little bit old after a while.
There's an interesting dichotomy though. You see him like, you know, I'm so excited. Oh, this is the greatest. Oh yeah. And doing the handoff and everything. And then they show the clips of him actually teaching. And so you see the serious side and the teacher side to him, and you see the excited side to him. And I think that's something that they're certainly hadn't experienced in the last few years as players for sure. So it'll be like Cam said, really the proof is in the pudding. If you know, will that grow tired if the Broncos you know, lose a few games and he's trying to pump everybody up. But for the time being, I think I was watching the press conference, and I don't know if you were there, Zach, or or when you're going to be in Dove Valley next, but just, you know, seeing him, I couldn't envision Dan Quinn as our coach at that moment. You know, just it was nice to see. I felt like they really picked the right guy for the job, and then Russell steps up. And you could even feel an energy with the questions that were being asked of him. And
then that was when we found out that he was drafted by the Colorado Rockies for the first time. I didn't know that before the other day when he mentioned it.
It's going to be the new Lindsay guy. But like, people, we need to get like one mention, a couple every now. It's too much. It's every single time.
Yeah. Well, and I will say it isn't exactly Lindsay, because we all know Lindsay was kind of like a hometown boy, you know, and Russell Wilson was.
No, but I mean like the
Colorado, the Rockies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and by the way, Philip Lindsay is from right here in Denver, Colorado. Or like, hey, I don't know if you guys knew it, but Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. I don't know if you guys knew that. But, there's some of those where it's just like every single time the media talks about a player, they have to mention their weird little trivia fun fact. I'm trying to think of others right now, but they're escaping.
And who knows the over-under, because we're talking about the Rockies, who knows the over-under during the regular season, you know, with announcers, you know, saying, oh, you know, Russell Wilson was a former Colorado Rocky every single week of the, you know, regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Zach, have you been in Russell's presence yet? And if not, what's the plan?
No. What What's up, Mr. Lundy? No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much. But
talk to your boss like that?
no, I haven't gotten out to Dove Valley yet, unfortunately. So I haven't been able to be there for that. But I have watched the pressers, of course, and that I think does look very smooth. Like he's got the executive thing down. Like I think better than, people talk about that with Teddy a lot, but I think even Teddy, it's like a little, because he doesn't have the walk to back up the talk. But Wilson, like you buy him as the executive, and he can just talk like, yeah, offense was great, defense was great. Look, didn't see special teams, but I'm sure they did good. Like I don't know, he just has the
aura.
Veteran quarterback cadence. Yeah, just like he's got I've been doing press conferences and like been the guy doing going back to college because you're the starting quarterback after NC State, Wisconsin, Seattle to Denver, and he's a very I don't know if he's engaged in media very heavily. It's
Polished.
Oh,
but that's the thing. I think it's like I don't think he's that like
Russ.
No, it's like he's very like when I think polish, I think like a Peyton Manning. And Russ is like that, where he's very professional and like very experienced with media, but he doesn't have like there's the clunkiness to him, like when the Rockies video is a great example. And could not be happier we have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of these other things. I care about the fact that he's a good quarterback. And I think the rest of the NFL is too low on his quarterbacking now that I've gone back and revisited a lot of that 2020 and 2021 season. I think he's got a good, I don't know. Broncos got a good deal. He's an awesome quarterback. I think he's a little cheesy, and that's fine. Doesn't matter. He can be cheesy and awesome. It can be both.
Oh God!
Coming from Seattle, he is a motivational speaker like 24/7. That's just how he talks.
Yeah.
That's just how he is, and it does come off cheesy, absolutely. But I mean, like paying attention to him for a long time, living in Seattle, like that's just how he is. Like he's very genuine person. Haven't heard anything bad about him ever. Like and the play on the field is going to be way more than anything we could ever ask for. So I'm extremely excited. But yeah, he can definitely be cheesy.
And we'll wrap this up in a minute. But the video of him at the Nuggets game when they showed it on scoreboard, and he got up,
that was dope.
And the crowd just erupting. I mean, that crowd, that was me. Like I was feeling the same way. I can't even imagine that.
And that's what I mean. Like, kind of just that mayor presence, like, oh, I'm gonna kiss babies, and like he's got it down, like Teddy. And of course, part of it again, I think, is the quality of the quarterback. But like, I think even at the height of Drew, maybe at the very peak of Drew mania, he could have had that type of reaction at a Nuggets game. But I kind of doubt it. Like, and then Teddy definitely wouldn't have. Like, the Broncos just haven't had that face of the franchise in a long time, and it's fun having that back again.
That's funny. I forgot about Teddy until you said Teddy's name again, and I was like Drew Lock. I just like my brain immediately just went Drew Lock to Russell Wilson. I completely forgot about Teddy.
That's it's a
Johnny
different...
hit the nail on the head, by the way.
Well, I will say, it's just because we were saying aura. It's just a different aura. Like, I think it's it's one of those things like, you can see the whole, thing that happened with Peyton Manning and the entire landscape of how, he was so professional, and then everything as far as how well he was received. You've never seen anything like that with this whole Russell Wilson thing since then. And so it's just one of those things that's just like, in particular, when you see something like that at a Denver Nuggets game, and not just like, the thing is like, not just any Denver Nuggets game, like a playoff game. And so to see the playoff atmosphere, to see everything just unfold the way that it did with Russell Wilson and him pumping up the crowd, and then, and then Hackett shooting a free throw. I mean, it was just like,
was that what that was?
I believe, yeah. I don't know if that
it
was
was a terrible shot. I'm goofing.
but I mean, I know he missed the free throw bad because I think they talked about that in the film, but I mean, or the video. But no, it's one of those, maybe those surreal things that like we talked about earlier. It's like maybe it hasn't hit you yet, and it's just one of those things like where it's finally gonna. Bree said like it's probably gonna finally hit her when he walks through the entrance of the very first game of the regular season. It's one of those things. It's like those little things like. It feels like your Super Bowl, right? Like, it feels like over time, it's like it's not going to hit you until like maybe you wake up the next day after winning a Super Bowl that Russell Wilson's your quarterback.
Yeah, I think KB82 Kenny has a good
excellent point.
And I still shake my head every time I see Marshawn Lynch's name that they didn't hand it to him. But anyway.
Yeah. No, it's a big deal. I think that the Javonte Williams thing and everything that he presents as a running back, he literally has that appeal of a Marshawn. And not saying he was like a Marshawn Lynch, but he has that certain appeal of a big bodied, Marshawn Lynch type back that's going to just carry defenders and provide another run. Like Lynch did against the New Orleans Saints, which seemed like a regular thing that Javonte was doing all, last year for his rookie season.
Now shifting gears to the draft and Zach, have you been to a draft before? Or is this your first foray? And what's the plan for you guys out there outside of the zip lining and the various videos that can then be used for embarrassment?
Yeah, it's gonna be my first time out there. Everything's very loose right now, honestly. It's my first time in Vegas. I want to as well as first time at the draft, so I don't really want to make any hard plans. I want to be able to go wherever, do whatever, and have fun. Definitely gonna post updates on Twitter and everything, let people follow along. But yeah, I know we're doing drinks with fans 2:00 somewhere at the MGM. We'll land on a bar soon, I imagine. Drafts at 4, so that'll be all this is Pacific time. So a little early drink, get you at a good point to sit through 20 to 30 picks before the Broncos make their selection. And yeah, I think that's really all the plans there.
And that's why we're having you on this week instead of next, because you wouldn't be able to talk about what happened next week.
Exactly.
So I talked about that we're going to be doing our favorites, our sleepers, and our Broncos picks. But leading up to that, this is the first year that we haven't had a pick for we're end of the second round as it stands right now, and this is probably the most convoluted draft overall in the NFL that I can remember. What do you guys think is going to? Do you even have a feeling on who's going to go first, or the top 3, or what's your vibe on what's happening?
This is like one of the most convoluted top anything like in a while. Like top 3 is usually not guaranteed, but you have a really good idea who's going top 3, and why we do kinda like it's a mix of probably 5 players that could potentially go with that number 1 overall spot. And now you start hearing stuff about maybe trade backs, and it's like who would move up for who, and it's just like I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I think people expect some trade backs, but I also don't see a lot of teams valuing anybody that highly that they would trade up for. So it might be a lot of staying pat. But I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends on how you value like a Trayvon Walker. Yeah. If you're really going to risk that high of a pick on I don't even know, like traits or
awesome run defender.
That's
not nothing.
It's true. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air.
I saw a 7-round CBS or NFL.com draft today in mock, and it had Kenny Pickett going number 2 to the Lions. So like I hadn't that one yet, but
that would be like another just another Goff just behind him.
You know, the whole win scoff thing. I think, you know, convoluted is the right word, because we just like, I think one of the reasons why it has been that is honestly the emergence of a guy like a Trayvon Walker, because it's like, you know, I feel like, you know, ever since he's like entered the mix, and I guess you could call it a smoke screen, and because, you know, whatever, as far as him potentially going number one, or, you know, or it's real or whatever, but it's just like, there's some legitimate talk possibly of like him going number one. So that's one of the significant reasons why like everything is so garbled at the point. Like you have no idea who's going to be going number one at this point. For all the certainty that we thought it was going to be, you know, Aiden Hutchinson, like it's may not be, you know, a surefire thing anymore. So who knows at this point? So I'm just glad that we don't have a first round pick, you know, that I can be able to just sit back and just enjoy the fact that, you know, those first, you know, 9 picks can roll in, and I don't have to stress about, you know, oh, this, you know, this player or this team took this player or this team took my player. Then I wanted to go with pick 9.
Yeah. Here's our first round pick right here. Right.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, why don't we get started with our topic for the night? And, you know, Zach, I got to say, your last mock draft that you published, and I told you this privately, but that was probably the best mock draft I've ever seen. It was if that ever came to fruition, and it seems like a realistic possibility that these things could, you know, so a lot of them, that would be great. But why don't you start us off with your draft crush or your draft favorite?
And don't pick mine.
Don't pick yours. I was trying to think. I think I'm actually going to steal one of Cam's. I absolutely love your guys' show, and so I was actually, man, I'm so torn. There's a few I want to go with. I'm going to go with one I absolutely love. I wanted to go with a guy that I hadn't shouted out on radio yet, or like maybe a little on LTB, just because, hey, I talk for 3 hours a week. I'm probably going to mention the guy, but Fedarian Mathis. Okay. I think I am higher on him than most of Broncos country. But I absolutely love this guy for the Broncos. Not at 64, not at 75. 96 is a hair early for me, but I can get around it. I would love it in those 1 teens, and I think that's fairly realistic. Maybe you have to take him at 96, and I think you can live with it. Comes in, and I think Mike Purcell, this is either his last year with the team, or he might not be on the 53-man roster. I think he probably is, but he might not be. Fedarian Mathis can be what Mike Purcell was at his peak for the Broncos. Just that awesome 2-gapping, run-stuffing annihilator. I absolutely love him. He's an exceptionally strong player. He's able to anchor against double teams consistently in the SEC. He also gets a pass rush, something that another run stuffer like a John Ridgway doesn't quite generate. He's very mentally advanced. He played in Alabama's super complex defense, played a variety of positions all along that defensive line. They also ask a lot of their defensive linemen, and he was able to execute all of it. You see his instincts flash off tape. He reacts to where the ball's going very quickly. And then his motor runs fast, like he's making chase down tackles on the backside of plays routinely. I'm a huge Fedarian Mathis fan. He'd be one I hope they target.
Look at Cam is beaming right now, so we'll let Cam go next.
I mean, I'd be remiss, obviously, if I, you know, didn't mention that my Husker crushes are kind of obvious with the, you know, the jersey that I'm wearing, but I think it's been pretty well evident, you know, who my draft crush, at least with social media, as far as been, you know, and everything that it's been for the Broncos, and that's actually Nick Benito. Even though I think that, you know, like I said, some of the Nebraska stuff is obvious. But I think that, you know, Nick Benito, he offers you a lot of different variety and a lot of different skill sets. And so I think that, you know, for him, you put him on this particular defense, and you're talking about 2 different options at that particular point with guys like, you know, Baron Browning or even, you know, the simple point of, Benito and Browning. So you're sort of mixed and matching at that particular point. So I just think that you put that type of weapon on your defense, you're talking about a serious threat with that defense. And so I think that if you're talking about a defense that can add a lot of playmakers like that, you can't pass it up.
For sure. I like both of those. I'm going to go with the most versatile player in the entire draft. Dude out of Houston named Marcus Jones. That guy is kind of do everything, almost literally. He has played on all three phases of the ball. He's an elite kick returner, punt returner, can be solid depth in nickel, which is something that we need. And has even played on the offense. I don't think we'd necessarily do that, but he's just an absolute freak. And I think it would be something that would really be cool to be able to hand over to Stukes to just be like, have fun.
So my draft favorite is Matt Reza. I would love to see that guy. I know it's what's that?
Zach immediately shook his head.
I know.
I was just surprised. I was like, a punter?
I didn't. He's expected to, or he's slated to be a third or fourth round pick. But I mean, think about flipping, being the ability to flip the field, especially at home. It just with a leg like that. I mean, he's got his longest kick is 86 yards. And even from the salary cap standpoint, and Sam Martin's been solid for us, but I mean, he makes $2 million. So it's like, just even from there, and special teams has been just such an issue for us as a whole. And Boggins mentioned Marcus Jones a minute ago, and I mean, both those players would be massive for Broncos special teams. And so that's my favorite. I would love to that's my draft crush. I would love to see him in there. And Mundungus was not able to be on tonight, but Cam, get ready. You're going to like this one. Cam Jurgens, center from Nebraska. He a former tight end, now a center. Mundungus says good in the run and pass blocking, and not ideal size, weight or short arms. But one point that he did make was that Graham, who may end up being the center, is 6'6", and Russell's not yet not at all 6 feet. So Mundungus is going with Cam Jurgens as his draft crush.
I mean, it's a good one. He's a solid player. I think on the other podcast that I do with Boggins, the Mainly Broncos podcast, we talked about Cam Jurgens, and I think I had him as like the second most athletic center, like next to Tyler Linderbaum. So I think that it's a solid choice.
And he's a little bit bigger, like weight wise. So I mean, and he's almost just as athletic.
Yeah.
Do you guys see him at 64 still being there?
Who?
It's
at 64.
Yeah.
Let's wait. How about we just wait until we see what our Broncos picks are?
All right, fair enough.
Just spoil some things.
I know.
My goodness.
I know.
I think he might be, and I do think while we're on Cam Jurgens, I want to say center is the position that is not getting nearly enough attention in Broncos country, and really, really should, especially at 64. I don't think it's difficult to imagine a world where the Broncos don't have a starting center on the roster right now. That's not a hard world. If they don't like Lloyd Cushenberry in this offensive scheme, which is very reasonable, especially they tried to replace Lloyd Cushenberry last year with a third round pick, and then they went, no, Miners is a guard, and they moved him to guard. So all it takes is that. And secondly, not moving Graham Glasgow to center, which is also very reasonable. Russell Wilson has never had a center as tall as Graham Glasgow, and it sounds stupid, but that actually really matters a lot.
Yep.
Cam Jurgens, athletic, all the things Mr. Boggins just said, but shorter. So I think center's a position to watch in general, but Cam Jurgens, the shorter athletic guy who's an ideal fit for the zone blocking scheme, is projected to go around pick 64 and fills the only position of need that needs a starter, not just depth help. That's the name Broncos country should be eyeing.
All right, let's pull up
Segars coming in. Just like,
Alex. I wish I could pull that up. That's classic. Anyway, KD82. Would you guys be okay with James Cook in the 4th? Do you see him lasting that long? I think he would be a great addition to this team. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might be. Aside from the fact that maybe George Payton had a hand in drafting his brother, but I would say that he seems like your ideal fit with Javonte Williams. The right type of elusiveness, the right type of scat back, if you will, even to mix in with Mike Boone. And I think a trio or a staple of backs like that would not be a bad thing. And so I think that James Cook and the fact that Peyton probably did have a hand in drafting his brother, maybe gives a leg up on the fact that Cook might. I guess you could say creating my like an own rumor, but I think that Cook, if he tips his hand and says I want to play for the Denver Broncos, there's not going to be a whole lot of teams interested at that particular point, right? To where he just falls right into the Broncos' lap.
Maybe. I think it was Ian Rappaport that was at the draft earlier today, and he was talking about that there's not a lot of teams expected to take a running back in the 1st round outside of potentially the Buffalo Bills, and that's a maybe with Breece Hall. So I see the RBs getting pushed back quite a bit this year. So I think it's very, very likely that. Not very, very likely. I think there's a good shot that James Cook is there in the 4th round.
One of the things I like about him is the fact that he hasn't been carrying the load solely. Like the Devontae situation, where there's still a ton of tread on those tires after a college career. Same thing holds true with Cook in Georgia. And I think there's a huge value in that, where people are sharing the load, because the NFL is an RB1, RB2 league these days, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
Well, and I was gonna say, if there's a person that absolutely loves running backs, it's the guy right here, Zach Segars. He loves drafting running backs high, right? Right, Zach?
No, but I'm okay with it here, because win now, get a good guy. There's enough concerns about Javonte transferring to this scheme where I'm okay with it. My thing is, I do like James Cook in the 4th a lot.
Yeah.
Everyone, I do. However, Tyler Beatty in the 5th, I think, is an even better option. Has the power you're looking for, has the vision, has the patience you're looking for, has that burst. I think he's more explosive in space than James Cook. And while you like, what James Cook's workload looks like, and I agree, Beatty has a very similar workload. But I think he has the added benefit of, although their total collegiate carries are similar, that it got spread out in different ways. He had a bigger workload his senior year, where he was pretty much the starter replacing Larry Roundtree. So you've seen him manage a large workload and not get beat up and stand up to it. So I like that with him as well, though Cook doesn't really have injury concerns.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to our draft sleepers. And Zach, lead us off. Who's your sleeper for the draft? Doesn't matter which round.
Ooh, okay. Sleeper for the draft. Let's maybe stick with running back. I love Zonovan Knight. I've been singing his praises a lot. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Okay, I'll go too. Zonovan Knight's one I really, really believe in. I think he's a 6th, 7th round running back. I would love him in this Broncos offense. I don't think he ends up getting taken by the Broncos, because Peyton's demonstrated he likes to invest in running back, even backups in those mid rounds, which is why I think Cook, Beatty, maybe even Kenneth Walker, if he falls to 64, are more likely names. But Zonovan Knight, awesome vision. and once he sees that crease, he just has the juice to go and take it, create big plays. He's got kind of the Philip Lindsay problem where he looks like he'd be a great scat back, and he's just not. He doesn't have that receiving ability. That's the issue with him. He probably isn't much of a third down player, but he makes up for it by being an awesome fourth down player. Multiple 100+ yard kick returns for touchdowns while at NC State. I think he's got like 5 kick return for touchdowns in total. Really like him. And then like a 5th round tackle guy, maybe for the Broncos, maybe more like 6th round, Dare Rosenthal. I would like this guy a lot more if Mike Munchak was still the offensive line coach. Started off as a defensive tackle at or LSU, I believe. That's part of the fun. Also, Dare Rosenthal is hilarious because you got, I don't know, it's just a great mashup. But former defensive tackle, very new to the offensive tackle position, still learning, shows up on tape that he is still learning. He is a project. Broncos can afford to be patient at tackle with the depth they have, though, and he has special traits, but incredibly raw. He's going in the 5th round with those traits.
All right, Cam, what you got?
I feel like, with draft sleepers, at least from my vantage point, it might have the opportunity of being flip-flopped. So I would make a really good politician at that point, as far as, who I choose right now. So I will say I'm sort of torn on 2 tight ends, for the Broncos as far as a potential sleeper. And I'll say I hope I'm not butchering his name like Albert Okwuegbunam, coming into the NFL in his first year. But I will say that Chigoziem Okonkwo is my sleeper for the Denver Broncos. And I like his versatility. I like his ability to be used out of the backfield, kind of in the same way that Johnny Smith was for Tennessee, and potentially maybe even used in the future for, should I say, New England, maybe, if they choose to use him that way. But I like his versatility. I like the way that, he's certainly used, and he's obviously a little bit more of a athletic guy too, as far as a piece to put with Okwuegbunam, and plus I just want to make a broadcaster's life hell for when the Broncos are playing, so they can be able to pronounce Okwuegbunam and Okonkwo, on consecutive plays or something like that.
I'm also going to go with tight ends, and I'm going to go with the most disrespected tight end in this entire draft. And it's a real shame. It's a real shame. That's what it is. I'm talking about Cade Otton out of UW. Like, I don't understand the disrespect. It is ridiculous. He is 6'5". He's a beast. He can block. He has hands for days. He is smart. And I just don't, and he was criminally underutilized at UW. And I just can't wait till the Broncos pick him up in the, I don't know, maybe fourth, 5th round, probably, unless some team is forget these other people who've been ranking tight ends and they're actually oh, this guy is actually really good.
Uh-huh.
But God, if Cade, I will be insufferable if the Broncos get Cade Otton. I will tell you right now. No one should follow me on Twitter after that, because it's all I'm going to talk about.
Boggins, I was gonna bet my life that Cam was gonna steal that one out from under you.
I thought he was too. And, oh man.
I will say Boggins actually texted me. He actually texted me, and it wasn't about Cade Otton, but he actually texted me and asked me if I would be choosing Wan'Dale Robinson, who ironically enough wore number 1 with Nebraska. But it was just so he personally asked me, and then and so then I, of course, had to flip it back to him if he was going to choose Cade Otton. So it's been in the works.
Yeah, I would have squealed very loudly in anger if you chose Kate Otten. It's my boy. It's my boy, Blue.
Tight end 5.
So
He's awesome. Just for all the Trey McBride love, if you put Cade Otten at CSU and Trey McBride at Washington, all you Broncos fans would be going, Cade Otten at 64, Cade Otten at 64, and Boggins would be having a stump for Trey McBride right now. Okay, you know what the difference is? You get Cade Otten 2 rounds later, and you're not going to hear Trey McBride's actually from Colorado. Fun fact, every time he comes on the TV for the next 5 years. And you don't have to spend a top 70 pick on a backup tight end for a quarterback who doesn't like using tight ends.
Yep.
Well, and here's the thing, and like I love Trey McBride. Like he's one of like the top 5, wishes and stuff like that that I have for Denver. But like that's the thing with this tight end class. Like it's rather deep in the sense that like if you didn't get a Trey McBride, you can still get a guy like a Jelani Woods or a Cade Otten, because I love Cade Otten. Boggins and Zach know that like I do like Cade Otten and as far as my tight end too. But it was just like you have Jelani Woods as well, and you also have the other sleeper tight end that I have in Garrett Prince, probably that I like a lot too. So I mean,
I'm not gonna lie, like I like Jelani Woods. I don't remember where I ranked him in my tight ends, but he got so overhyped after the combine. Like I love him. He's insanely athletic. His route running isn't great. It's I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see how he like translates to the next level. But like if he can use that athleticism and just get learned up in the NFL, I think he'll be very good. But I don't know. He got super hyped after the combine.
So I agree with what you're saying. He did get overhyped, but I love Jelani Woods for the Broncos as a tight end because I think you can get him. It's like the Troy Anderson, but instead of like this really athletic guy that not great at football that's going to go at 64. I think Woods maybe goes at 96 or so, or maybe even later than that. And he can be that. The Broncos can be patient with him because he is going to start off as a depth piece. And I think Nick Kendall made a really interesting argument for when you look at Russell Wilson's limited usage of the tight end position, and that having to do with his deficiencies attacking the intermediate part of the field where things are really messy. Getting a monster like Jelani Woods, who has crazy traits like his field stretching ability and just his sheer size and wingspan, might be the way to make the tight end position dangerous with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I mean, I do love him. I think I have him as my tight end 4. I don't know. I just think I get bummed out when things get like overhyped at the just based off of combine. It's
definitely, and that happened, and that did happen. I don't mean to take away from that point because he was getting hyped up too much.
So my sleeper, of course, is it's hard to call someone a sleeper when they're slated to be in the 2nd or 3rd round. But Boggins mentioned him earlier. Houston cornerback and kick returner or punt returner as well, Marcus Jones. This guy is a really intriguing prospect. He's 5'8", 185, so he's on the small side. But when I saw that he had a total of 139 returns, of which 9 of them he took to the house. I mean, here's a guy that, one of my biggest pet peeves with the Broncos over the last couple of years was wasting a roster spot on a guy that was a kick returner and punt returner only and couldn't catch a pass. And here we have an opportunity to bring on somebody that can play the cornerback position, shore that up, and then be electric from the return in the return game too. So that is my draft sleeper.
Marcus Jones is electric.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah. I think my headline for my Marcus Jones write-up was like, Marcus Jones is the player that can make Broncos special teams fun again.
Yeah.
I mean, he
should have been special again. You should have said special again. Make special teams special again. You missed it.
That's the thing. Yeah. You really want to use repetition in journalistic articles.
Yeah.
Really beat the point.
So Mike's sleeper is actually a very intriguing prospect. The mock I saw today had him going in the 7th round to Washington, but Western Kentucky quarterback Bailey Zappi, this guy put up almost 6,000 yards passing, 62 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Those kind of stats are very intriguing. Obviously, he's got a lot of flaws if he's not somebody that we're talking about as a first round prospect. But those type of stats are going to get attention. So that was Mike's sleeper, Mundungus' sleeper, I should say. So moving on to the Broncos pick. And do you think they're going to take it at 64? Or you think they're going to shift around to get the player that you're picking? Zach, lead us off.
I think. Man, it's so tough. Like, ultimately, I think they probably move. I think there's enough of a chance they move up to like 55 and enough of a chance they trade down. It's like 55, 45, like maybe 45% chance they're picking at 65, 20% chance they trade up, and 35% chance they trade back. This is probably like a good breakdown, but so yeah, gun to my head, I'd say they probably move somewhere.
So Zach, if you move from 64 to 55, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what do you think that the compensation would need to be to jump 9 spots like that? Any idea?
It's so tough. It's so tough to know. This is my moment really quick to rage against the draft value chart. That thing's worthless.
I know. I was like, do you want me to look up the points?
No, I hate it. Someone came up with it 30 years ago. It's inaccurate.
Johnson,
yes, he did. Shout out Jimmy Johnson. But 30 years ago, analytic people have come up with more accurate ones since then. Even those aren't great, though, because it changes year to year. The first overall pick in this year's draft does not have the same point value it does most years. It's different every single year for like these ranges of picks. Like the value of picks 30 to 70 is inflated this year compared to most. So I do feel, I don't know, like I think like a 5th feels reasonable to me. Maybe that's too little. No, but then a 4th, like, am I really going to give up 112 or something, move up 10 spots? Maybe that is what it costs, but I feel like you could do it for a 5th. I'm honestly talking out of my butt on that, but that feels right to me.
Mm-hmm. And who do they pick?
If they move up, I think they would love to trade up for Arnold Ebiketie. I think they would love to trade up for Arnold Ebiketie. I would love them to as well, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think so. I'm going to kind of contradict myself a little bit. Out of the 3 pies, trading up, trading back, staying put, I think out of those 3, staying put is the most likely. So if I have to make one prediction here, I'll say they stick at 64. I think it's Pascal or Juergens. I'll go Pascal.
See, I don't know. Like putting ourselves in the mind of George Payton. Just I don't know. You just have no idea what he's going to do. I feel like the safe bet is obviously staying put at 64. I think it just depends on certainly what's there at the moment that it presents itself, because it's just like because we're obviously talking about this now, right? And so it's one of those cases where whoever could potentially be available within that 55 range, maybe the Broncos do trade up at that particular point, right? And then at that point, you are talking about the compensation that you're going to be giving up. So I'll probably talk from the standpoint that they'll stay put at 64 as well. And not to personally stump one of my Nebraska Cornhuskers, but I think that the pick at 64 is actually a different Cam. And I think that Cam Taylor-Britt, is one that, at 64, maybe even 75, but I mean, I think 64, for Cam Taylor-Britt, another guy who I think that, as far as a guy who I think is versatile and actually who's got really decent size and surprisingly athletic ability for his size. if you guys have any sort of resources to watch this game, you guys should watch the game that Cam Taylor-Britt had against David Bell against Purdue. He was one of the best, corner on wide receiver tape that that I had personally seen. I mean, he was able to lock him down for a majority of the entire game. And actually, from what I heard, is that he basically told the staff going into that game, put me on David Bell the entire game, and he ended up locking him down. And that's the type of attitude that you want from your corner.
All right, Boggins, what you got?
Okay. Well, my analytical brain has a hard time with questions like these because it just really depends on what happens. Like, I can't say whether or not they're going to trade up or down, but Zach took mine as far as like, if we did move up, I would think it would either be for either an edge or a corner probably. And like my first guess would be in Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn, or like a fingers crossed, like a Kyler Gordon slips or something. That would be dope. I don't know if he'd slip that far, but that would be great. If we stay pat, I really think, I really do think center. I've been talking about this too. Like, center is very, very, very needed for the Denver Broncos, especially with the scheme switch up with Russ back there. That's something that is extremely important. And Lloyd ain't the guy. Like, he's not.
Is it fair to say like the offensive line is like a safe pick right now?
I don't know about a safe pick. I think one of the safest picks is the guy I'm going to pick in Cam Jurgens. I think he's a blue chip center, extremely athletic. Like, you watch that dude run 45 yards down the field. Like, it's kind of like what you saw last year with Quinn Miners running down the field with Javonte against the Cowboys. Same thing. Like, can you imagine watching Cam and Quinn Miners just running down the field, blocking 45 yards? It's just like, I think that's something that is like a big possibility at 64. Other than that, probably one of the edges, maybe a Nick Benito, but I don't know if you really want to use. I wouldn't like Nick Benito at 64. I'm not huge on him. He's just kind of just a specialist essentially. But yeah, I think Cam Jurgens would be my best guess for if we stayed at 64, and my also crossing my fingers for.
So just to throw out what Mundungus put out, he had Chad Muma from the linebacker from Wyoming. You think he's around at 64? I think he gets picked.
Oh, no, I think he's around at 64. I just don't know if I would use the pick on a linebacker at 64 necessarily.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think he's a top 50 player. I could see him going before 64. I don't know if he will, though. I could definitely see him being on the board at 64. Ultimately, like Boggins just said, I really hope they don't take a linebacker at 64, because we talk about how running backs are a devalued position. We were joking about it earlier on this show. Off-ball linebacker is the running back of the defense. Like, it is a very devalued position, and it is easy to find later on in the draft. And not only would the Broncos be drafting an off-ball linebacker with their only top 70 pick, but they'd be drafting an off-ball linebacker who, for the foreseeable future, is the number 5 option on the depth chart, where they're going to be playing a lot of dime with a 4-man front. Boggins, when you have a 4-man front and dime, how many off-ball or how many linebackers do you have on the field? You've won. Why is our 5th linebacker a huge? I know there were a lot of injuries there last year. Everybody, that was an outlier. You don't need 5 starting linebackers every single season.
Yeah.
That's my.
But they need to chase Darren Waller. Duh. That's the reason.
Guys, but Chad Moon was from Highlands Ranch.
I think Mike only picked people from Colorado, but Zach, just going back, with
No, I didn't mean to shit on my. I feel bad now. I think Puma's a great player. He's my favorite of the linebackers. And I wouldn't hate if they picked him there. I like being dramatic.
He's your.
I don't want him to take an off-ball linebacker.
He's your one. He's your linebacker one.
No, Lloyd's my one. He's my two. I don't like Dean. Dean's my three.
So Zach, just we've been talking center here, and you said that there's a possibility that the center is not on the roster. But if the center is, who's the starting center for the Broncos in the fall?
Oh man, that is so tough. Cushionberry, I think Cushionberry. I'm telling people, I really don't see Glasgow there. I would remove that idea. May not fully remove it, but I would put it way at the back of the closet in your mind. Yeah. I don't see Glasgow doing it. I don't see Reisner doing it. I guess maybe Reisner could. I would bet on Cush though. Cush or Reisner. Oh, yeah. What is my position on Troy Anderson?
Zach, what is your position on Troy Anderson?
I don't like him. At 96, I should be clear. Traits, every traits box you want to check. Boom, boom,
see
boom,
ball,
boom,
get
boom,
ball.
Boom, boom. Yeah, the 10.0 on RAS, meaning he's the best testing linebacker ever. Some of that's the fast track in Indy, but a wild athlete. The character traits, awesome too. Being like, oh, I'm a quarterback now, I'm a running back, fine, no problem. Now I'm a linebacker, no problem. Love that. Checks a lot of boxes. I don't like that you probably have to.
Yeah, I feel like you see that he's from Montana and immediately you have no interest. But.
Yeah, that's actually the exact reason why I've got the bad taste in my mouth. No, but he's my problem with him is you have to teach him, in my opinion. I say it and it sounds so like you have to teach him how to play linebacker.
Yeah,
and I don't want to take a guy I have to teach to play linebacker at pick 64. Oh well, he'll be great at special teams. I know the special teams were atrocious under Tom McMahon people. You don't want to be spending second and third round picks on special teamers. That's poor team building strategy. There's an awesome one. Like my thing is I would rather gamble on Damone Clark, who is a freaky athlete. I know is really good at football. And I can get him 4 rounds later than Troy Anderson. Why? He's not going to play next year. He's not going to play next year. But you know what? Troy Anderson's not going to play next year because he doesn't know how to play linebacker. And that's important if you want to play linebacker in the NFL. If I was drafting a track team, first overall pick, if I'm drafting a football team, somewhere in the 90s.
Yeah. All right. So I'll my Broncos pick, Boggins already trashed it. So I'm going with Oklahoma edge, Nick Benito.
I'm sorry.
It's a good prediction.
It's a good prediction. Yeah.
You know, good size, 6'3", 248, 7 sacks last year. You know, I don't know if you saw the quote from Daniel Jeremiah. He said he called him a poor man's Von Miller. Plays like Von. I thought that was. I mean, that's quite the compliment. He is ranked the 11th best edge in this class with a second and third round prospect. I don't know if you got a chance to see Dane Brugler's The Beast on The Athletic, but this is the most comprehensive draft setup I've ever seen anyone put together, and it's if you get an opportunity to check it out, it is phenomenal. So that's what I have. That's what I have for the Broncos pick, and.
I'm not saying it's I just wouldn't take him at 64. That's all I'm saying. I think he's solid. He's a speed rusher off the edge that he has a hard time in the NFL level. He's going to have problems, and it's going to have to be something that he's going to have to work on. And I think luckily we have the depth for him to kind of hide behind and work behind for a bit, but so that's why I wouldn't be raging out. I don't think there's any pick that I'd necessarily be raging about at 64 this year, since we're so our depth, our roster's good. It's solid. We could win games with this roster. So it's not anything that I'd be crazy teed off about.
Do you think he'll have a hard time in the pros because his legs are not all that big? Or
His leg
manhandled?
Benito? I don't know. He's just such a speed rusher off the edge, and he has a hard time handling. Well, go for it.
He does. He's not winning like blocks, you know, like he is running around guys. And so I wonder, like, that's harder to do against NFL tackles than it is to do against TCU tackles, you know? And so that's my hesitation. I don't know if he wins a ton. When you look at like passing situations, pass rush win rate, Benito leads this class. So like he wins a lot, and you typically look at pass rush wins, pass rush production is something that translates really well to the NFL. The style in which he wins is what really gives me pause. And then he's not giving you much as a run defender. If he at like 75, and it's stupid because it's just 10 picks later, but like at 75, I could like kind of talk myself into it more. I think it's just because it's like the first pick under the Christmas tree, and you open it up and it's like, oh, it's a pass rushing specialist that really needs to develop before he's gonna, in my personal opinion, contribute to the level you want. I think it's a great prediction though, because I believe on Broncos Country Tonight last night, I didn't listen admittedly, but I've heard the talk about it. They said that Benito was a name to watch at Pick 64, or heavily implied that might be the target. And I could definitely see them going that direction.
You can never have enough pass rushers.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's good that Ryan and Ben validated what I had to say. But anyway.
I'm sorry, Glenn.
We're so psyched to have you on tonight. I mean, like I said in the intro, you're absolutely one of our favorite dudes. Tell people where they can find you and where they can follow your antics in Vegas these next few days.
Find me on Twitter at Zach_Segars. Follow the podcast at the LTB podcast. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. We're doing a free jersey giveaway. So if you haven't entered in that, make sure you go enter in that right now. There's a thing there. And then if you go back to our mock draft episode of the Let's Talk Broncos podcast, there's a little message in there that will allow you to double your odds. So even if you have entered in it, go listen to the podcast, rate us 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, and do that little hidden thing in that episode of the pod, and you can double your odds of a totally free jersey, no strings attached. So check that
out. Boggins, you cannot get a Kate Otten jersey. Just, you know.
Don't tell me what to do. I can get whatever.
He just has to wait until Saturday, and then he can get a Kate Otten.
Yeah. Kate Otten will have a jersey before Trey McBride.
That's probably not even.
Probably not, but he.
Yeah, should. I know.
Yeah,
I know. Take it.
So, anyway, Zach, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Just a reminder, if you haven't liked and subscribed on YouTube, we would certainly appreciate that. Again, this is a 5280 podcast, which is every Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wild Wild West. That starts at 7:30, 6:30, 5:30, and 4:30. With all of the super fans from the AFC teams, should be a blast to listen to the day before. I'm sure the Raiders fan will be talking trash as he's hosting the draft this year. Nothing Rhymes on Thursday, 7, 6, 5, 4. They get to chat during as the first round is about to start. And Broncos Breakdown and Bronco Bill is Friday night. So thank you again for all the activity in the chats and the comments. We can't thank you enough. And have a wonderful rest of your night.
See y'all. Thank you so much.